All right. Hey there to you all. Sam here with you on a Thursday. It's the 8th of February. And I've got OmiseGo. People tell me how to pronounce it. For some reason, I want to say OmiseGo. Anyway, this was voted on amongst the members here as the coin to be analyzed today. So my guess is the reason for that is the confusion here in this correction, because it's it would appear complex. We're trying to put in a 2. We don't want to see a triangle here in the second. So that's what I think is creating some confusion. Now, we can look at this and, there's maybe some, it would appear like we've got an extra leg in it here. So I've got it labeled as 3, 4. Now, this is worth noting and something that I'm seeing right now in crypto. It would appear that we've got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Now it's tempting to want to do this because we get an ABC here, but then we also get we get this three-wave structure here. So in 2017, what we were seeing a lot of was this truncated C wave. It was just everywhere. We were just seeing this all over the place. So we were getting that triangle kind of pattern here into the fourth particularly. So I think that it could be now with the correction that we're experiencing here throughout crypto that we may see less and less of that. So I still maintain that was December, end of December, and then we get this. So this would have been the obvious one, 3, 4, up we go for the 5, but we get this extra kicker on it. Now, does it matter right now? Because it's tempting to want to do this, then you got to relabel it. This doesn't play as well as a 1, 2 because it's the shallowness of the retracement. So if you looked at this, and I had to kind of give it a look. So if you pull this as the 1, 2, it's not quite there. Yeah, the Vegas wave supports it. It could be a front run on the 50. That's a contender. That's certainly a contender. But then the other thing that you would do just to try and get a handle on it, because that may be, and now over on the right-hand side, yeah, you can make the argument that it doesn't really matter. But this certainly, if this is our 1, 2, which is, what I would propose to you here, then we just get we get this complexity. So you could even call this 1, 2, 3. Here's the 4, and then we go up for the 5, right? So we get the extension here. We get the big fifth. It's not unheard of. So I think you could really, does it matter right now? You could make the case that it doesn't. Here's what I do notice, that if I work in here and I look for some relationship, do I have a technical pivot there? Well, if I work from that to that, well, they go deep. So you can look here and go, oh, front run on this, but I think this is the fourth. See, now that takes it right to the tick. Now, so you say, well, the sloppy here, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. For whatever reason, they continue to stay with that, unless they were pulling back here. You can't really find, it's just not a perfect fit. So this is what I think gives me confidence in that pivot as our 4. So, you could definitely get a 1, it's kind of an ugly 2, and then 3, here's the 4, and then we go up to the 5. So we get a technical pivot here. That we can say for sure. So algos take profit here. Regardless of whatever they were using, I think this holds. So we get that to the tick, and then where do we go from there? Now, that's kind of interesting. But if that's our pivot here, regardless of how we're counting it, whether this is 3 or this is 3, we've got a completed 5-wave sequence that's a 1-wave. So it's not as critical that we get a count on that right now. This is what matters, okay? And this is where it's confusing. We can work from the assumption that we have a completed 5-wave structure here. This is the 3. It's an impulse. Either way, we've got a 5-wave structure there. So here's the 2. So what are we going to do? So we're going to work from that low up to the high and say, okay, where are we? Well, we know a 2-wave is typically going to be between the 50 and the 618. That's our sweet spot for the second. Well, we're seeing this reaction here at the 38. We get through it, but we're getting, you can see here this. You've got prior resistance, maybe a little support here. Is this the 2? You could really make a case there. Now, it's shallow, so I don't love that. I would like to have seen that a little bit deeper. I'd have more confidence in this if we were a little bit deeper on it. But it's 10 to 12% of the twos, are that shallow. So now we work through here and say, well, can we get a technical pivot here relative to this correction? Given that we're kind of struggling to get a clear, clean count, you're not always going to get one, or it may not be revealed until you get more data. So if nothing else, what we can do now, trying to get a handle on the complexity here, is just work from the swing high. All right, so there's our low. That's the first rip down. That's algos take profit. Whatever the pivot, they hit their 23, boom, they go straight down. Well, you can see here we've wicked through the golden zone here. If this is a B wave, we know it can go higher, but these little pushes through, and then note what happens here. Right? So this would suggest that same situation here. So even though we get the little pumps through, it would appear that they got their target, and now we've had a reaction. So could you label that? Yeah, you might have. This would look to me like this is what you'd have here. So you'd have an A, B, C here, essentially a double top into this as your B. I do like that we now get right into the golden zone. Yes, we get the little wicks here. So you would have within that, we'd have the A, B, C internally. So we'd look like this. So if I bring that up here, now let's lower the degree so it's not on top of one another. And we'll go to blue. Okay. So do you see what we get there? So we can get a three-wave structure out of that, even though we're getting this little peak here. Essentially, I'd call that a double top. And then, so here's the final sell from the golden zone. Boom, right to target. Look at the reaction. Just like we saw up here. Algos get their target, they sell it, and it falls down. So this is certainly potentially a good low. So now I'm here on I've got this on the 2 hour, so could I get an ending diagonal out of that? Because clearly we've got all this overlap. Well, I can we'd have 2, we can get a 3, we can get a 4, we can get a 5 here. So that plays. So you might just check some of that, trying to build the confluence case down here for this as our hard pivot, and then we'd be looking for a 1-2 here. So if you might check this here. If that's our 2, we note here we go right to the 100. So this holds as a 3 up for the 4. So obviously it's an ending diagonal. So then we might we'd pull from, if this is our measuring for a diagonal, we'd pull all the way to the 3. Here we are here again, golden zone. So we get this nice cluster down here. So we get good technical confluence here. Algos, that's their first target. And then given the reaction, I think you could make a pretty strong case that we have a good pivot here. So if I pull this off, given all of that overlap here and this potentially playing as an A, B, C, and then finishing with that ending diagonal, we get a good pivot. So now where are we headed? Well, this, I'm going to take that to the hourly, see if we can dig in there a little bit. Do we? Yeah, I mean, you could make a case there that you've got a 1 in. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if that's going to play as a 1, we're just looking for the retracement. Where'd we go? Looking for the retracement from this swing low. God darn it. Where'd you go? Okay, that's what happened. Okay, let's get off. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so are we there yet? Well, again, just like this was potentially a front run on the 50. I'd like to see that come a little bit lower because I'm not absolutely rock solid on that as a low. It's technical, but we could have another drive down. I would be looking to be a buyer. I'd at least want to see us get to the 50. That's your zone here. That's the sweet spot for the second. So if this is going to play as a 1-2, we've got a reasonable case here that we get a 2 here, 3, 4, 5, going up as a 1 wave. Put that in. Yeah, that'll work. So then we get a 1-2. So the opportunity approaching, I think a bit premature, to be jumping the gun there. Why? Let it come to you. If it's going to rip up here, then maybe we haven't completed the 1 wave. Maybe this is putting in a 4. It's not perfectly clean. So why force a trade? If you're a little unsure about it, no reason to force it. Now let it come. If it comes into the sweet spot, well then by all means, that's very tradable. So we know that the negative 100, as I've shown you guys many times, that's a good just eyeball reference for potentially what could play as a 1618. So let's say we come down to the 618. Okay, look at that. So here's the 1618. So we get a little cluster up here. That's why I always tell you that negative 100 is a good, just quick eyeball for, is there enough reward potential for you if you don't want to draw up the alternate price projection. It's certainly there. It's going to be close to the negative 100. So given that, now we're not there yet, and I'm hypothesizing that we're coming down to the 618 for the second. So, if it's at the 50, if we get it at the 50, still relatively close. You still have a nice juicy target up here. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets there. But I would be, waiting for that. You can see you've got this kind of this trend line here that, so having broken that, that it's going to have to get through that again. So here now you're looking for a pretty good rip eventually, assuming we get down here. We're going to need to rip through that. So get somewhere up here. We're looking for a third. So the next opportunity would be if you don't catch that, then you're going to have this for your fourth, right? And so then pulling out on that, say, well, is it worth getting around there and screwing around with that? What kind of upside do we have? Well, if this is a 1-2. Right, we know same thing. We know if that's a 1-2, and that's going to play that way. Now I took them off here. So if we're going to get a 1-2, so if I'm playing here as a 1, same thing. Well, here we know the 1618 is going to be very close to the 3. So given that as a potential risk reward, again, I would want to wait for it to get here, because why force it? Let it come to you. Your risk reward here is just it's incredibly good. If it's going up there to play as a 3, put the stop on the other side of the 786. There's 16 to 1. I'm not even there yet. There's 16.3 to 1. Let's see now. Granted, right? So it's not going to go straight. Well, I always catch myself saying that. In crypto, you never know. But if you get this kind of a pattern, then that's just going to be the one wave of the third wave. So you're going to have a correction. So that's the thing. You have to reconcile that there's going to be a consistent series of retracements where if you were to catch this, the 4 is coming. You're giving back some profit, assuming it follows this path. If you get this as the one wave of the larger 3, well, then you're going to have another sell-off. So let's just take it up here, hypothetical. We get up to the algo target. Well, then you're giving back. If you're riding it all the way to get there, well, then you're giving that back again. All with the hope that now you catch the 3 of the 3. Right, so you don't have to stay with it, but just know that when those retracements come, and they can go deeper, when those retracements come, you're giving back profit. So that's why these are all potential places to take a partial. Let the thing retrace, assuming it's going to. Let it retrace, reload. House money. You made some profit already. Always good to bank a little bit along the way. We get up for that one, bank a little more. Reload. You're going to get subdivision within that third. If this plays as a 1-2 going into that third, you're going to have the same opportunities along the way. The retracements are inevitable. That's it needs to do it to recycle the energy to get up, right? So the people that take profit, they start selling, reload. That's how it rolls. Okay, guys, I'll stop it there.